Hello and welcome everyone to today's debate for the subject Competencias Comunicativas in Inglés. The topic we are going to deal with is the following. Should governments spy people in order to prevent further terrorist attacks? In this case, there are two teams. The first one, which is on my left side, agrees with the idea explained in the topic of the debate. And the second one, which is on my right side, disagrees with that idea. We have come to an agreement in which Mr. Jairo, member of the team that is against the topic idea, is going to open the debate. We have to remember that each person has got a maximum time of 1 minute per participation, and that all members of each team must participate and be respectful with others. We are going to have a first round of debate between both teams, after which some members of the audience will be able to contribute. Then there will be the second round of the debate and the final participation of the audience. Well, having said that, let's start. So, Jairo, it's your turn.
Good morning, everybody. I will begin by telling you about the real effectiveness of espionage. The digital and illegal massive spying that has been conducted over the last decade might make us think it has served for something, but is real useful to collect massive information from everyone? If this were the case, why do terrorist attacks still happen? Many newspaper articles or with some secret documents that has been revealed show the effectiveness of massive collection of data about governments, influenced people, or just ordinary citizens has had a little utility to prevent the terrorist attack. So it also could be used as an advantage in international negotiations, like, for example, negotiation between governments.
Okay, Carlos?
That data the governance gets from the citizens is very important in fight against terrorism. We can see this importance in the source that Minister of Interior provide us. Based on this view, I can say this information is essential to prevent this attack. We can say we don't say we can prevent all attacks, but I can say prevent a large percent. The attacks have more mediatic reputation, and I have one question for the other team is, do you believe that information is infringe your private life if the data is analyzed by the computer?
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Well, Danny?
Well, thanks before. I disagree with you because I think it does not depend on whether the data is analyzed by a computer or a person either. At the end, one person is going to analyze the data and the results. Consequently, my privacy is going to be violated. According to NSA sources, massive data recollection is not useful to prevent attacks because there are a lot of data to process.
You should be finishing now,
the whole population is involved in spending a lot of intelligence resources. So.
Okay, Danny, thank you. Well, Ricardo?
Now, Daniel, I understand your concern behind being monitored constantly, but there's no evidence pointing out this information is being used against law-abiding citizens. Some may say that this is a large scheme for corporations to gather and analyze data to see consumer habits. This is only rumors and falls in the lens of speculation. The truth nowadays is that terrorist attacks are proliferating. I'm not only basing my arguments in the recent attacks on Paris, but also on the incidents happening in Colonia, Germany, and the current state of Sweden as a country. The terrorists can exploit the generosity of EU to accept immigrants due to the war in Syria. They can infiltrate easily and find help in the unhappy immigrants. We now, more than ever, watch at the streets and increase the security to avoid possible terrorist attacks in our cities. Even after the last decision of these countries, Germany and Sweden, to start massive deportations, I'm afraid this won't be enough to stop possible tragedies.
Thank you, Ricardo. Daniel again.
I appreciate and respect your opinion, but I don't agree with you. I can't believe that any government spying on us is a good thing. It's a good thing. They don't just watch us by public cameras and listen to our conversations on the phones. There are a lot of other things that they can use to spy us, like video games, consoles that can scan your body and eye movements. So, there are also video games consoles that can scan your body and eye. Plus, they are always listening. Smart TVs, cable boxes, all hooked to the internet. So they can be always listening to us. If you really believe that the spying on us is a good way, you are lying yourself. Besides, all the information that they get from us can be used by companies to get advantage over others. So I have a question. So, is this what we want for our world?
Okay, Danny. Alina?
Good morning, everybody. My opinion about this topic is if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. Government prevents thousands of terrorist attacks every single year by programs pick up the keywords. Regardless of the disruption of our private life and human freedom, the government wants to save our lives. They aren't always listening everyone's conversations, only when there is reason to suspect something is wrong. I really understand your point of view, your opinion. Not everyone wants their emails, their text messages to be read. But if it can save our lives and our relative lives, wouldn't let them do it? Of course, they would mainstream your phone calls, your texts, but do you really think they care about it? They care about you? That exactly you seems to be very interesting for them, and exactly you they want to monitor? Of course not, please, people. Government has much more important things to do than monitor you. And of course, remember please, it's them who protecting people from future terrorist attacks. It's only them who can do something for us, for our safety. In conclusion, my question is, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about.
Thank you, Alina. Okay, Juan Pablo.
I appreciate your contribution, Alina. Anyway, to mark a bit the point we have read so far, I will read a small entrance of the privacy policy of Samsung Smart TVs. It says, and I quote, "Please be aware if your spoken words include personal or other sensitive information, that information will be among the data captured and transmitted to a third party through your use of voice recognition." End of quote. That is, we face the reality that George Orwell raised in 1984, in which humanity freedom has been eradicated completely. For someone who has read the book, It is known that Orwell tried to demonstrate the destruction of human beings because of the government control. So, do you really defend the ideals of the Big Brother figure? Don't you think we are destroying our essence?
Thank you, Juan Pablo. Okay, Kike.
Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank my opponent for actually pointing that out, because voice recognition algorithms are most of the time imperfect. So your data is sent to a third-party company in order to improve that algorithm. Obviously, if you say something personal, it will be transmitted to you, and they are forced by law to say that to you. In second place, the BBC and the Universal newspapers reported that the combined activities of the USA government and the Mexican government were crucial in order to capture the criminal El Chapo Guzman, and I think that might be called an achievement. And finally, I'd like to say that the bulk data collection is just a tool, another spying tool, and most of the actual bad things will happen on the deep web, not really there. I mean, they are not stupid. They will not let themselves catch or caught. So, really, when they commit a mistake is when this spying gets useful. So, it needs to be there.
Thank you, Kike. Okay, Joshua.
Well, as Mr. Enriquez has commented, this control has allowed us to capture the more important drug trafficker from Mexico, Chapo Guzman. Nevertheless, it took 30 years for the special authorities to achieve this objective. Ex-director fundador del CISE, Jorge Carrillo, who received the prisoner, did this comment, and I quote, "What happened during 3 years that five pieces of news of PGR didn't report us about any strategy or suggestion for his capture." End of quote. And in addition, the ex-governor Morelos said, I quote, "I know bit to say to see that had a network of governors, commander of military zones, federal and state police who support him." End of quote. If this is true, the question will be, how much effective is to obtain this private data, and what do they do with our data for taking so long to capture criminals?
Thank you, Joshua. Okay, Juan.
Well, Joshua, that's why it's very simple. When the government has data that may incriminate a person, possible criminals, there are two options. The first, they have to be sure of the innocence of the criminal, the possible criminal. And second, they must ensure a possible plan to capture the criminal. On the other hand, that system obviously is not perfect. It's not, and it's very slow. But what's more important? What do you prefer? Whether take 1 or 13 years, they finally capture the criminal. But maybe if they don't do nothing, a possible terrorist is finally in the prison. Over time, the system will be improved, but that is our best option.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you all for your contributions, and now after this first round of debate, this is the time of some members of the audience to contribute. I'm seeing that Jorge is asking for a participation, so it is your turn.
Thank you, Samuel. First of all, I want to say that it's been a good debate with some good and interesting points from both teams. Now, I want to make my question to the opposite team. I think that most of us know about Edward Snowden, that is a NSA former employee, that he has been these past years denouncing that USA and a lot of more countries are spying us with the excuse of terrorism and recollecting information about us with that excuse. So he was recently interviewed by La Sexta and said that. So if you think this fact is true, do you still think that spying is a good choice?
Thank you, Jorge. Okay, Juan.
I would like to answer your question with another question. If one of that possibilities, terrorist attacks, is possible, do you not think that it's better control that attack? And in addition, that particular case of that employee, I think my opinion, that employee wants to have a benefit of that case. If we want to denounce that case, he have to go to the course, no to a program television.
Thank you, Juan. Okay, one more contribution from the audience. Well, Meng.
Well, I had read in the Guardian newspaper a spy program called Prison, used by NSA. According to the document leaked by Snowden, Prison can collect data directly from USA servers like Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Skype, and recently Apple. In other words, everything: chat, video, photo, file that we transfers. Even our video conferences will be accepted by the government. So my question is, to what extent are we willing to provide our privacy?
Okay, thank you, Meng. I think that Meng's question is a good contribution to start the second round of the debate. In this round, the team which agrees with the topic idea is going to start, to have the first intervention. So, okay, Carlos, you can start.
I think that we don't lose the private life if we do things well, because this data collected is carried out by the computer, big data. For these reasons, your data is only one number in one graphic.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Jairo?
I understand your position, Carlos, but let me give you an example. Around 1963, the government of the United States began to spy citizens declared as a radical religious leader with great social influence. This character was Martin Luther King. The government decided it was a threat to national security. 2 days after his famous speech, "I have a dream." From all the religious leaders, it was decided that he was the most dangerous one. If a winner of the Nobel Peace can be seen as a threat, why not you?
Yes, but the problem you tell me is a legally problem, because in 1963 the problem is a religious leader, and today the problem is about the terrorism. But this is no problem for your privacy, because it's not necessary all infrastructure or many data for solution this problem. For this, I think is only a legalist problem.
Thank you, Carlos. Okay, Ricardo, you can continue.
I believe the problem is not how much information they are getting from us, but how they use this information. Let's take the case of CCTV systems in the United Kingdom. The closed circuit television is the practice of using cameras, displays, and recorders to monitor public spaces and stores. There is for one camera, for 32 British, there is one camera. This could potentially track down the daily activities of an individual. Now, many of you may see this as an excessive giveaway of information and an attack on our privacy. But this footage is only used if a crime is committed in their designated areas, and the footage is also deleted after 30 days if nothing happens. Also, the UK citizens can access this footage if they request so.
Ricardo, sorry for stopping you, but you should be finishing this participation. Your time is going up.
Just one last remark. As I said, there is no evidence this information is being used against citizens in the UK. I can only wonder if these systems could be more efficient and more common, maybe more tragedies could be avoided.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. Well, Danny?
Well, you are talking about the United Kingdom having installed video cameras on their streets to control the vandalism on their streets. But I have a question for you. Does it really work? Many studies that you have checked on the internet have determined that the existence of video cameras on the street does not reduce the criminalism ratio on the area where they have been installed. They only move the vandalism to other places. So finally, their function is to control the population by order the government, or in the worst case, by other people. So consequently, our privacy is violated. Your and my privacy is being violated in our houses and also on the streets.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Well, Juan?
Well, I have one document of a study conducted by NASA by Dr. I. Mayron, director of Harvard University Studies. He takes that conclusion, I open quotes. Data from phone calls of communication via the internet deriving for the activities of monitoring, unlike the restricted search of phone records or emails, backed with court order specific. End of quote. So we can draw that conclusion. If we cannot rely on heads of governments of that types of conclusions, we can rely and we must rely the conclusion of high intelligent minds for example, Dr. Myron, for our security. Government, we should rely of that people of great capacity for our security.
Thank you, Juan. Okay, Joshua?
Okay. Well, Mr. Juan, we cannot deny that these methods will could stop some terrorist attacks. But the question is, how often are they able to stop them? Two terrorist attacks occurred in 4 months in important European countries and some more in other locations in Africa. So the method seem not to be too effective. I don't feel suffer now. The objective is not to stop terrorist attacks. They want to know how we think, how we are going to move, so they can go ahead before us. Therefore, if this is truth, what kind of people are using our data and our privacy?
Okay, Joshua. Well, Arina?
What kind of people are using our data? Do you think that we already gave up our privacy? Or our data are available on social medias as are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and many others? If you are very private and secret, as you seem to be, why I can see all your personal details on Facebook, from with who you friends until what did you do last night? Or even something worse can happen. For example, I'm going on vacation and I announced it on Facebook. Someone can come and rob my apartment. But okay, this is one of the worst examples, but this really happens. And everybody can see all your data on these websites. And this kind of people can be more dangerous for you than government, who is trying to save us. So if you are willing to give that up to the private companies and people who you don't really know, why not to the government?
Thank you, Alina. Well, Jairo?
An article of the Human Rights Act states that, and quote, everyone has the right to respect for his private and family life, his home and correspondence. Spying on innocent citizens clearly breach this agreement and is completely unfair to the public. I also wouldn't feel comfortable with the fact that my private life could be exposed at any given moment. In the government has stored data about us on computers. Any talented hacker could find and use this information against anyone. This could easily result in blackmail and a clear breach of the community safety.
Thank you, Jairo. Well, Kike?
Well, many in your team have stated that spying on us, as I read here in my notes, that are ineffective. But I have to say that it is important in a logical way. More the information about intelligence and spying is not available, and it's logical, it's not available. I mean, it will be public, and it will be what you are trying to defend here, that all privacy will be broken. But as far as it goes, I think we have to have in mind too that American companies and American government or spying agencies have more resources than Europeans ones have. So we're really in Europe we are safer, if you want to say so. Also, as I said before, there are multiple ways to fault back this kind of control if you want. You can use VPN networks, you can use proxies in order to make your signal or your data untraceable. So you really can protect yourself if you really investigate into it. And finally, I had to state that President Obama, in his speech in 2014, he stated that he wanted to change the way NSA is recovering bulk data, and so far he's done it. And also, they have been able to prevent more than 50 terrorist attacks. I don't know if this cipher and this number might look a little one to you, but how many lives?
Sorry, Kike, but you
were
should
saved
finish
on
quickly,
50
please.
terrorist attacks.
Okay, thank you, Kike. Well, Juan Pablo.
Well, I don't agree with you at all, because in the end, what have we got? A society without freedom, a society without rights and without essence. Beyond the causes that lead to a figure as the government control all our secrets and our most intimate aspects, is this really legitimate? Is humanity ready for that? After so many years fighting figures who try to impose their ideas of the welfare of the rest of the society, what is the difference between them and what the government is doing now? And what is the difference between this society and that described from the book 1984, as I mentioned before? Luckily, that was just a novel. We were witnesses to what happened in it. However, in this life, we are the protagonists, and I think we have to take our role and let's make the right use of it.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. After these participations of both teams, now it is the time for the rest of the members of the audience who will be able to contribute with their information and make some questions. So, Marino, you can start.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Well, recently there's been a very famous news in the social media, and although a little bit hidden by the election campaign being carried out in the United States. I'm talking about Apple against the FBI, where by court order, Apple has been said that they must implement a backdoor to all iOS, to all iPhones devices in order to unlock the phone and see through them our data. Apple, of course, refused to do that, and they made public a letter to all the customers saying that they won't do that. Knowing this type of case, some heavyweights in the industry, like Bill Gates, said that some specific cases, because this was a terrorist related case, some specific cases should be reviewed and revised. Knowing the history of the law enforcement, which even nowadays they tend to discriminate people by color and by race, do you think that authorities should have full access to our privacy data?
Thank you, Marino. Well, Kike?
Well, obviously my team is not trying to defend that any backdoor should be available for any agency of any government. That goes really far away from what we're trying to defend here. But for example, tapping a phone, single phone, is also spying. I mean, we have centered the debate about the bulk data connection, but just collection, but just one of the tools we have available. And I have to say that spying is a tool for preventing terrorist attacks, for prevent crimes to be committed, and as a tool, it's as a knife. We can use it for cutting or for killing. It's about the use we give to it.
Okay, thank you, Kike. Well, Laura?
Okay. In my case, I would like to ask my question to the negative team. The NSA and the FBI have disclosed that they have helped to prevent terrorist attacks in 20 countries since 2001. For example, one to the New York Stock Exchange and the other to the New York subway station. We know that it is impossible to prevent all the attacks, but what about all the lives that may have been saved thanks to government security, or as you call it, spying? With this, they may have been saved hundreds of lives. If all of this is true, my question is, why could not the espionage become legitimate?
Well, Joshua?
Well, laureate, whether the truth of spying is used to prevent terrorist attacks, I think everyone should be agreed with this method. But so really spying used to prevent attacks, or is used to control us? By unfortunately, we have watched several attacks in different countries in 4 months. Since the first attack is in France, we are now in a high alert. However, we have suffered a double attack in Belgium. Where are these data? Where is the security? I think that is better than they find other methods to stop terrorism. They should not sell weapons to terrorists, and they should not financing them to buy them fuel and oil.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, of course, I totally agree with you in this. It's obvious that it's impossible to prevent all the attacks, and they use that to control us. But I think that it's important to consider all the life that the government may have saved.
Thank you, Laura and Joshua. Okay, Sergio?
Thank you, moderator. First of all, I would like to thank the participants of the debate, because we have here the different points of view about this topic, and I think that we have increased our knowledge of this topic that worries the population, and also takes the newspapers of the entire world nowadays. I think that it's a good idea for closing the debate to have a final conclusion for both teams, following the answering the following question. Sorry, don't you think that accepting the fact that the government can access your communications is a way to renew your freedom as a citizen?
Thank you, Sergio. Okay, Juan Pablo?
Well, as I mentioned before, leaving our freedom in the hands of someone or something that are not us implies the loss of our essence. As human beings, we have a wide variety of rights, but also a wide variety of duties. And in both of them, there is the fact that keeping our most intimate values and the most intimate values of people is a right, but also a duty. So, as you say, does it imply the loss of our freedom as citizens? Yes, you could be sure about that. And that is what our team has been defending during the debate, and I think we are right.
Thank you, Juan Pablo. Okay, Ricardo?
I will begin your answer with one phrase. My freedom begins when yours end. We have been defending during all this debate that it's not the amount of information, but how it is used. During the course of history, legislation changes, and so do the moral laws of society. The current situation suggests that this massive capture of information is not going to stop. So, are the people really willing to sacrifice some details of their private life in the benefit of the larger, of the good for the community, for the larger community? We lose some freedom, we sacrifice some freedom to gain some, or to keep some we have now. We now, with the threats of nowadays, we must, to prevent these attacks, we must give some freedom to prevent these attacks of those who trying to impose themselves on our way of life.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo, too. Any more contribution from the audience before closing the debate? No? Okay, and the time of this debate has finished. Thanks to everyone for participating, and I hope you have enjoyed yourselves during this time today. Have a good day and goodbye.